Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the best defensive Protoss player in the game in the red Demower, the wall. It's showtime. Facing off against the Zerg voted most likely to raise my blood pressure. In the blue, we have the underling. It's SHIN. In a best of 3, Protoss versus Zerg showdown. And whether you'd like to see SHIN's reckless aggression be rewarded, or the only wall broken today being the 4th one, it'd be amazing if you could smash that like button and maybe even subscribe before we get started. Help me count the algorithm. And Jimmy, what do we have? 1,687 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As a Showtime throwing shade, but the queen there, in order to stop it, the probe all the way back across the map, and a Zergling will try to track it down, and the Adept just kind of hangs it out to dry. It looks like it'll make it back home, but has an unwanted pet inside the Protoss base. Citizen's Arrest, though, drives it away. And now, he blocked the natural, so the Adepts might have more opportunity to make things a little difficult in between those bases. The Zergling, with an ambitious yet futile goal of taking out the Stargate. It's good to have dreams. And Showtime actually completes the shade into the main. The sheer size of the hitbox on that queen, blocking him from killing off a drone. And it's finally good for something, but gets another one. 2 drones dead in total. The Zergling was cleaned up back at home, and a Phoenix behind the first Oracle as well. So Showtime with that economic play, making sure he can take out the Overlords. Can't just be wandering around seeing everything that's going to follow it up. But also, trying to stay on a budget. Alright, a Void Ray can serve the same goal and possibly intimidate and defend your base, but it's just simply more expensive for arguably very little reward. So the Phoenix also opens up some opportunities for those quick queen pull-up builds, where you can pick up the queen, slide underneath with the Oracle, metaphorically of course, they're all on the same plane with the planes, but get some damage done. And in general, it's annoying for the Zerg, which has intangible yet significant value. It really depends on what they're looking to do early on, but they're not going to be looking at all when the Overlords are taken out. So the Phoenix, and with the Oracle at all, it pretty much precludes any sort of early aggression, besides maybe an early Nidus all-in or some sort of dramatic queen walk across the map. There's just simply no way to get enough damage done when the Oracle's overhead. That isn't going to cost you way more than it's going to cost them. So Zerg doesn't necessarily have to be efficient, but they definitely have to be effective. And right now, so far, it's Showtime laying on the aggression. A second stasis. Wasn't quite as ready for the second one. Shady bunch getting into the main. And a third stasis. Now caught between the Adepts and the third stasis. Not entirely sure how... This seems like one of those sort of scenarios where we're asking whether or not you could, rather than whether or not you should. As Showtime ends up losing all of the Adepts, uses all of the recharged energy of the Oracle, and gets 3 drones and maybe a few Zerglings. Which, I mean, keeps SHIN at bay, but, well, there's even more Oracles, and here comes the Phoenix hunting down the Queen, picks her up, and the Spore Crawler targeted onto the Oracles, but a few more drones killed. Showtime trying all the angles right now to get some early drone damage done, but SHIN's obviously acutely aware of them. A lot of this trying to fit a square peg in an almost non-existent hole, which is just a recipe for potential disaster. So far, though, SHIN has been kept at bay. The big thing here is that Showtime didn't lose his Oracles, and he's keeping tabs on what SHIN's able to do. Even though Zerglings on the open field can easily rip apart the Stalkers, well, the Stalkers aren't known for offering up that opportunity. With Blink nearly completed, +1 on the way, +1 melee attack is good, but again, the Zerglings are mostly on defense here. Not hallucinated Phoenix, survived that whole engagement, did a full drive-by. We'll spot the lair on the way, not yet completed. The enemy has discovered us, yes, probably because you flew directly into them. But the Queens will drive back the Oracles yet again. The Zerglings are fighting, but Blink is done. Actually recalls back. And maybe taking this a little more seriously than SHIN was. Ends up losing another couple dozen lings. I mean, Really trying to get something done, but Showtime has not nicknamed the wall for his porous defenses. Let's put it that way. Definitely not stingy when it comes to the defensive structures, and also obviously well planned when it comes to the civil architecture. I guess it's not hostile architecture, more accurately. Cannon on the way. Storm, 3/4 of the way done. A whole lot of Zerglings on the field. 60 of them right now. And without Storm completed, things definitely a little dicier. But the Templar is actually holding that semi-wall up. Linkstalkers abandon the Zealots to the Zerglings. They charge in the glorious battle. Well, they will in about a minute. So far, the Zerglings giving them the runaround. So much superficial damage done. A Stalker here, a couple Zealots there. But most of the damage is really to SHIN, as he lost a lot of Zerglings in these. He's really trying to keep the 4th base at bay, to try to keep the army back at home. He's rushing up towards Hive on the other side. Maybe take back some semblance of control of this game, as Showtime has methodically, slowly, not slowly, but not as fast as it could be, methodically taken a 4th base. He's got Storm done. He has 70 probes. It's not getting any easier for SHIN to fight this on the ground. Hydralisk in production. Hive on the way. Lurker Den behind it. So obviously angling towards that late game opportunity. Zerglings maybe going to try to run by, but the wall has the wall covered. So far, Showtime not slipping on that at all. And now the charge lots. Hydra's coming up, and Zerglings sprinting back home to defend. Shouldn't be vulnerable, at least for now. A few Zerglings. Who's catching who? The Zealots charge into glorious battle. The Zerglings just haven't been able to find anything. Keeping Showtime from pressuring the 4th base and getting a 5th base is something. Alright? Make no mistake, this Protoss army can be shredded by lurkers. A few moments without detection, or even if you do have it, doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to stop them. There's no immortals. Is that true? Yes. I mean, there's an immortal in production, but technically no immortals right now. He does have the robotics facility, but he's not focusing on that empty ground army. Not as hard as he could be, at least. In fact, there's just more cannons on the way on either side. No fleet beacon in production. A 2nd forge, which means an even greater focus on that ground army. Gonna max out the upgrades about as quick as possible. Meanwhile, on the other side, lurker range. SHIN. Oh, main base. Zealots warped in. The Queen Brenda, no! Assassinated in the main. One of the queens. With absolutely no vision on that left side because of the Phoenix from 5 minutes ago. Clearing out all of the vision and opening up this opportunity. Target firing the lurker den and delaying lurker range could be massive here. The Zealots, not quite enough. Not all of them focused on it. There was maybe a missed opportunity there, but not something that Showtime could rely on either way. Back at home, the fleet beacon is in production as Showtime, not in a desperate situation to go sky toss, but instead the perfect one to work his way there. He's lost not a single probe, almost entire. Well, it looks like an immortal got picked off. I have no idea where, but scouting immortal. All right, you know how it goes. One immortal picked off, but otherwise just gateway units so far. And speaking of, he has a dozen gateways and a couple stargates. It's just all come together. Looking entirely impregnable right now. 2 Tempests on the way. Lurkers scattered all over the floor. Well, underneath it, technically, but let's not be pedantic here. Leave it to the comments. Zealots chopping through the Zerglings on either corner of the map. Another couple dozen taken down, plus 2 Zealots completed. Plus 3-1 on the ground is in production. Adrenal glands for SHIN! It's happening. He wants to win. A little more diligent on it, and wow, the spine crawler's underground and over it, looking like a chiropractor's over here with this many spines, and that's the Zealots walked in, and they certainly did not walk out. I guess more like acupuncture in this case, but half a dozen lurkers, a couple spine crawlers, spore crawlers out in front. The Sporist has begun production, fully embracing this late game style. Despite the 99 Zerglings that SHIN has lost, he also hasn't invested much in more expensive units. He hasn't lost them either. Well, I guess if you don't invest them, you can't lose them. But again, no need to be pedantic. A Nidus network was attempted in the main. SHIN, that was the first 75 gas he lost in this game. 12 minutes in. Which... mildly shocking. A whole bunch of Zerglings caught in stasis as the Protoss army would metaphorically lick its lips here. The changelings pretending to get in on the action. No, we know you're not real, but almost buying the time to get this. No, yeah, the storm's just psionically ripping them apart. A few dozen more Zerglings, some more changelings at home. Cannons, a bulwark, 7 cannons in production right now. Another Nexus. SHIN managed to delay the base to the 12 o'clock, the 5th base. The Zealots. Hey guys, my life for ire, right? We're planning to die, right? Just charge right in. Let's get in there. Where do you get one of those fancy capes? Anyone wanna? What? Can I get one of those? No. Okay, be like that. Does that guy have a mouth? Sorry. Now, Changeling still helping out, keeping tabs on the army. Corruptor's on the way. Little Sporchard out front will help zone out the Tempest. The Oracles as well may lose one. Gets taken down. And more cannons being scattered in. The Phoenix still finding value in the main. Gonna take down the Overseer. Some Vipers getting mixed in with the Corruptors. And Changelings could potentially block the Natural. So far, Yanks and one of the Tempests make that too. Right into the Spore Crawlers, and beautifully done. The Harpoons land. And I think the Vipers both survive as well. The Corruptor's getting great damage done. Knocks out the vast majority of the Tempest. The Mothership is still going to make life difficult. And by vast majority, he took out every Tempest. Showtime. Quite a sizable mistake, wandering too far forward. Gets distracted at the back. And that will be a costly exchange. 4 Tempests dead. Oracle out in front. Now, both players are starting to bank up money in a significant way. The compounding interest isn't there, but all the bases pretty much on their side of the map are mining. SHIN has established base number 6 so far. Only 72 drones, but very efficient with them. Same thing for Showtime. With 75 probes, and he's mining, well, he's prioritizing mining gas in pretty much every base, as well as taking the one down the center. Couple Zealots. We're going to a full-on Supreme late-game macro game. A little early, Jimmy. Mass Archons just kind of trundling around. The Changelings infiltrating the base. You can tell by the way they are, though. They're slow and sad. And I'm editorializing, but I mean... life is fleeting. Especially if you're a Changeling. But also for others. Like and subscribe for Existential Dread. 6 more cannons on the way, adding to the 22 already on the field. The tectonic destabilizers are completed, allowing the Tempest to do terrible, terrible damage to the buildings. There's a single observer with this army. The Oracle's coming in to help out with the detection. The Storm... I think he was anticipating Corruptors, but the Storm's a little off to the side. Yanks and a Tempest knocks it down. The Templar also struggling. SHIN doing a great job of picking apart the Death Ball so far, but he still has a ways to go, as Showtime otherwise has been incredibly effective. 4 Tempests and 2 Immortals in production. Only the power units now. 7 Infestors are on the way for SHIN. Does he have Neural Parasite? He does. Does he have Burrow? He does. SHIN on top of all the upgrades. A legion of Changelings over to the left flank, and actually... Showtime not noticing the Nidus network in the back, and he can't even warp in units. He doesn't have enough supply free. Suffering from success, and that means the Lurkers are going to pop out and start ripping through. He's actually going to recall all the way back. Another Nidus in the main as the Changelings just hanging out, loitering. Hey. Typical. The upgrades really starting to fill in for both sides. +3 ground, +2 armor, +1 shields. A Warp Prism in the main, but there are Spine Crawlers there as well. Wow. The defense is comprehensive on both sides. Showtime just gonna slap down more cannons. Guys, hello. Probe desperate to get through. Might actually time out on the cannon production before the Nidus is taken down, but a couple zealots in the main. Changelings time out as well, just another casual Nidus, more stasis wards. Both players investing in things that are effectively free here. Stasis and changelings only cost energy. Of course, oracles and overseers are not free, but are probably the least likely units to get picked off. But a big Nidus gonna slash right through into the center base. The lurkers. And then deciding maybe that's not the greatest idea, but buying some space in order for the Hydras to break through a few more cannons. There are 29 cannons on the field. Continually adding more. Another Nidus attempted to the right side. Showtime just bouncing back and forth. 5K in the bank for either side as we have a real chance of getting maximum upgrades for every unit in the game. Unfortunately, they don't affect... Well, shield upgrades technically affect cannons. Now, cannons, it's not a big difference, but it certainly doesn't hurt. Well, they also affect all Protoss buildings, but cannons probably the most relevant. No, you know, hey, my wife for hire, right, guy? They really didn't like that joke. Oh, hey, guys! This changeling actually dies because the new ones come in. The changeling lived a full life, which is a little hilarious and somewhat sad. But more changelings taken out. Is it better to be taken out at the start of your career or at the very end? Questions for the philosophers. Probes getting eviscerated by the lurkers. Storm way late on the draw. +3 shields has entered production. Showtime not replacing his probe count, I think, because he needs enough army supply on either side of the story here in order to actually beat back these armies. Meanwhile, though, +3, +2 in the sky for SHIN. There's just a couple Templar underneath. Just obliterates this hatchery. Another battle group to the left side. Showtime locking things down. He's at 35 cannons. Wait, what is SHIN at? 17 spores and 11 spines. Crawling his way upwards. Both sides raising the static defense count. The only things that don't cost supply that seems to be the limitation. Another Nidus, these changelings just continually infiltrating. Oh, he notices? Yeah, the traitor is found. Looking at every zealot suspiciously, all right? There's no such thing as innocence. Only varying degrees of guilt. Heretics among us. Yeah, I've been playing some Dawn of War. You can check the second channel to watch me struggle at a game that you beat 20 years ago. Speaking of struggle, SHIN against OK Showtime with his Nexus Wars build here. Actually, that's more like Zerg Wars, which would be incredibly appropriate. Just needs that supercell pylon. Has his blueprint for cannons and batteries. Oh, the Broodlords have arrived. 13 Broodlords. I saw them in production. It didn't really register, but they're very much here. Infestor Broodlord has returned. A single... Wait. Oh, he has the observers off to the left side. The spore cars without the range. Both players breaking through the flanks. This base more important to SHIN than that outlying base at the 3 o'clock is to Showtime right now. But SHIN has 7,200, 6,500 in the bank, a few more minerals. That's probably because Showtime has 40 cannons and counting. He's building another vanguard of cannons over at the left side. They're scattered throughout. Changelings being unleashed. The Changelings have been the real MVPs here. We'll never get credit for it. 14 overseers with the army, making sure he's never vulnerable to the active cloaking of the mothership. This is like an Age of Empires game right now. 47 cannons with 10 more on the way. The CPM, the cannon per minute, and even more gateways. How many gates is he at? 20? He's going from 12 to about 20. The changelings, some of them take it out by the cannons. Some of them slip by. I guess slip by might not be the right word for it, but at this point, is it even... He's lost 16 Nidus Worms. Wow, each player's only lost less than 4,000 gas. That's about to change a bit, I think, here. The Archons, the Storm, but he catches the army. Is that a mass recall? Indeed, a recall to the mothership. Able to more easily catch all the units. Probably better to use that one first, so you can still use the recall on the mothership itself if you need it. SHIN swings back over to the right. As now the whole army is together. 1 out of 2 recalls. Storm. There's still so many storms, but the Infestor throwing out the feedbacks. Only on the Infestors already bruised. I think trying to bait the feedbacks with some of the Infestors that have used their energy. Technically, you can cast them as long as they have 1 energy, so kind of a good idea to try to catch them. The Brood Lords wading through the storm. Mostly weather it. There are now 59 cannons on the map. Scatter throughout the bases. Changelings and Broodlings caught in stasis, which is somehow ironic. The Broodlings will time out. The Changelings will survive. Wait, yes, those... So the timer for the stasis replaces the timer for the Changeling. But time is running out on all of us. And look, another one. So SHIN has 10,000 minerals and 6,900 gas, which is a pretty nice bank. Meanwhile, Showtime with 5,000 minerals and 8,200 gas, but he's taken the 2 side bases. The Lurkers will make a big move in slicing through. He does still have the Nexus recall. Oh no, the Templar are getting caught first. The feedback's a bit late. On top of everything, wombo combo, fungal parasitic bomb. So much damage is being done. He's gonna wipe the Armada out of the sky. But we have to ask ourselves that eternal question. Have you liked and subscribed, and at what cost? The Brood Lords are breaking through, but he got the fight he needed. The Lurkers just stole Showtime's attention. He was looking the other way. The Templar did not get those storms they needed. In that fight, well, okay, wow. The entire budget of most small countries is spent on that last fight. 6,500, 3,500 destroyed by Showtime. 6K, 5K destroyed by SHIN. He got the mothership, he got 7 Tempests, he got a whole bunch of Templar and Archons. That is a win for SHIN overall. But we're going back to the bean counter. Showtime has mined the same amount of resources. I really didn't think that would be true when I brought that up. I thought he would have like 5K more, and I'd sound like I know what I'm talking about. But we can always edit in something more profound. Well, I guess the fact that Showtime keeps hitting that left side, this base still has... Okay, it has like 300 gas left. But the main base has the entire tech tree. So... Whoa. Lurker obliterated. So far, over 70 cannons this game. This fight, this haphazard fight between the Hydras, the Changelings, almost blocking him in, not making a real attempt at it, but the Brood Lords take out the Nexus. There's almost no anti-air left. 7 Corruptors, 13 more in production. He wiped out every Tempest, he gets another Immortal. Showtime is rebuilt, as has SHIN, but SHIN has drained significantly more of that gas bank. Those Vipers in a precarious position. The rocks were dropped. Showtime is mining without the rocks being dropped and breaking the blue minerals. And he's still controlling both sides of the map. He's got the love handles of the map, if you would. And, he's grabbing onto them. And we're moving on from every part of that. But is SHIN moving on from attacking this right-hand base? The fact that Showtime is forcing the fight... Oh, what? No, those were real! But he doesn't care. He will kill his own zealots. Born to die. In order to warp in more Templar to make sure that is the only Templar. He recharged it there. And it's so important he did because that might be the only thing stopping this army from ripping through. And then he warps in 10 more zealots, which makes it feel like those other zealots died in vain. But we're not going to elaborate too much on that. Oh, the Emperor. Well, the Brood Lords swinging in to the right. The Lurkers on the left. Shin hitting both bases at once. The entire massive cannon outpost here will buy some time. The Hydras are blocked in by the Blake Stalkers. What a blunk right on top. And he cuts them down with the Zealots from the back. The pincer maneuver, but at the same time, Showtime will be losing the base to the right flank. A bunch of drones gonna go down. Shin gonna be reaching deeper into the piggy bank here. The banks are opposite. With Showtime, not too many minerals left, but plenty of gas. Shin with a decent amount of minerals at 3,500, but only 1,200 gas. And he's not even maxed out. How much more gas does he even have access to? A few geysers? The thing is, the minerals can be replenished for Showtime more easily. He could just start warping in Mass Templar. Oh no, I have to make Mass High Templar Archon. Whatever will I do with 3 upgrades? Technically, both sides have maxed out upgrades, to be fair. Still 50 cannons, 15 spores, 7 spines. The gold hatchery goes down. He actually blunked a couple stalkers over the top. A couple zealots in the main, just forcing the issue, dragging anything back. And it feels like Showtime is dragging this game out, and he might be beating Shin with experience. He has forced the engagements over bases that he can afford to lose anyways. After all the fire and fury and all the smoke clears, either of these bases he could lose and still have the other and be in a great spot. There's over 9,000 Vespene gas. Shin has had some good fights, but he needs to force the issue with the Brood Lords. And if he doesn't do it soon, he might not be able to do it at all. A big recall. That was the Nexus recall there. He still has the mothership to work with. He's actually moving the mothership over to the left side, so that way he can potentially reposition. Ground army coming in. Brood Lords do not have the ability to recall. All right, I'd love to see deep tunnel for Brood Lords, where they just dive into the ground and come back up screaming. Like, that's my Brood Lord sound. I will not elaborate any further. If you ask any questions, I'm going to bring up another Brood Lord. It's going to sound like... I hope that doubling down on that would be funnier. And it was. Thank you. Please clap. Mass Archon. As Showtime running thin on the minerals, Shin running thin in general. Your mother not having such issues. Tempest, though, shelling Time Warp, and the Lurkers, the irreplaceable Lurkers, will be annihilated by the Tempest. Shin desperately taking the hatchery to the 3 o'clock. How many units have been lost? How many broodlings have broken upon it? He finally took the base, but he didn't even clear up the building, so Showtime sees it immediately. It feels like this is trending heavily towards the German Protoss. The changelings coming back out. The Broodlord count still dramatic. That is so much Zerg. And a huge set. Is that blinding? No. What's going on under there? Is that... He didn't have a blinding cloud, right? No. It looked like it. It was just a weird fungal look. But the broodlings are raining down, and this is going to be a decisive moment. He's hitting another of the side bases. He needs to win this fight. He needs to take out the air army at least. The broodlings are raining down. The storms of fungal slows things down. Where's the Viper? Where's the Viper? Throws out the parasitic bomb. Corruptors come around the corner. Another wombo combo who close in from every angle. Knock the Tempest out of the sky. Microing back the Broodlords to the corner. The storms doing a lot of damage. The supply plummets for either side. And it's unclear who's coming out ahead. If he knocks out Does he have any lurkers left? No! He took out all the observers, which means no more lurkers. So the lack of detection won't matter. The Broodlord's slipping and sliding around the corner like microing a water tube right now. And, barely. The Broodlords will survive. Zerglings in production. The war fought in the skies with Tempests and Corruptors and Broodlords. But the final war will be fought with Zealots and Zerglings. 100 supply apiece. Nothing in the bank. The worker count has plummeted. SHIN is mining from the 3 o'clock base. It's so damn close. There's still so many cannons on the map that he can't salvage. It now serve almost no purpose. There's still a relatively fresh base in the top left corner. The Stalkers are getting surrounded by the Adrenalings, fully upgraded. He's gonna recall out. The Zealots weren't here. He loses the Archon at the last moment before the recall. And SHIN, by the skin of his weird and kind of tumultuous Zerg teeth, may have somehow drawn victory from what looked like a chasm of defeat. But, Showtime still has Monty, still has Templar, but there are still Broodlords. And there's nothing to contest them. The Corruptors over the top, they have nothing to do. They're trying. The Archons are so dangerous. He built a forward set of batteries. A couple Stalkers move forward. Archons are fighting Zerglings, which is about the hardest counter you're gonna get while they still can technically fight. Oh no. The blue balls of death are with overwhelming power, just shoving their way forward. The Broodlord's gonna try to fight him. Target's down one more. A single Hydra. I think he wants lurkers. Oh no. He's down to 3 broods. The Stalkers are still too much. Fully upgraded Broodlord, still not enough. The lurkers. Oh no. It's a disaster. The 70 supply apiece. The Queen! Yeah, I'm going. How is this my job? Susan? How is this? Lucille? Where is everyone? I'm the only one left. Like and subscribe for existential dread. Showtime, the fallback position. SHIN desperately trying to defend that base. He's got 20 drones. Did he need to attack there? He didn't know how much... SHIN didn't know how much Showtime... So at this stage of the game, you can't know exactly how many resources. 1,500 minerals could be an entire another army here. SHIN could not have known that Showtime was that broke. His best opportunity was to strike while he could defend that base and maybe try to keep the army down. But now, he has 13 Corruptors. Did he lose the Greater Spire? No. He's building one. He's gonna go for lurkers and snipe the observers, which I thought might be the strat when he won the fight. And now it's what he has. All right, a couple. Technically, there's no detector. Well, he built. Oh, Showtime rebuilt an Oracle. Been tripping over my words today more than these fights have. Been a stumble for both players. It made sense. 4 Tempests on the way, though. Showtime has reestablished enough. He did have the base in the top left. He's mined out of the gas before the minerals, which kind of tells you what his priorities were. The fact that there's still more than 4 patches and he mined out of the gas means he was barely mining minerals at all. I think Showtime did a good job of prioritizing mining from the side bases while he could. But here we go! He's gonna drop creep with the Spore Crawlers. He brings the only queen, the last march of SHIN. For better or worse, this is everything he's got. The Spore Crawlers will burrow down. The Broodlord's behind. The Queen leading the charge. If there were no Tempest, Showtime just gives up the base. Observer will spot the right side. Sporecrow is not known for their maneuverability. The Oracle existing is going to be incredibly disheartening here. a wave of charge. It's just too much. And not with a bang, but instead with a whisper. He went forward and he saw the Tempest. This is what happened here. SHIN. Yeah. The Tempest existing means he has enough money to build Tempest. From SHIN's perspective, he hasn't seen this base for so long. Relatively recently, but the fact that there was enough left over. But honestly, what a game. Wow. Showtime holds on, despite SHIN taking those fights. But it was only by that much. Not that much, but like that much. Definitely not that much, but that much. Thank you for coming to my TEDx talk on Imperial measurements. But, wow. And so ends game one. Showtime holds. The cannons, almost the end of him, but saving him at the end of the day. That forward outpost of cannons and shield batteries making the difference in the final battle. And now, because Showtime actually ran out of minerals, which he may have gone. Now, the cannons kind of prevented any sort of Nidus or counterattack play. But he spent, what, like 70, 80 cannons? That is multiple, almost multiple bases. A base has 10,800 minerals. That's normal 8 mineral patch base. A cannon is 150. So if he made 75 cannons, all right, that is 11,250 minerals. Something like that. He made over an entire base of cannons. So was it worth it? Doesn't matter. SHIN's taking the gold as his first base. Here we go. What a start. What is this SHIN? Okay, will Showtime check? Yes. He checks it immediately. He's been fooled before, and fooled me once. I won't be fooled again. I did not expect this series to be so dramatic. I thought we'd have just a good, solid late game. But, well, I guess it was a good, solid late game, but a lot closer than anticipated. So now what? Is he gonna do some sort of crazy mine through the mineral wall? Showtime has to be, obviously has to be aware. I don't. SHIN is like the spiritual successor of Dark. He's still, unfortunately, he didn't complete his full education, or whatever it is. Like, I assume something resembling a book learning education, and also spending several weeks wandering the desert on peyote, and various other things which cannot be mentioned in good company. That's how I assume the process of becoming Dark is. And you're still not going to be there, but at least some sort of impression. But SHIN is very willing to do these strategies, but they crash and burn almost as often as they succeed. Well, I guess they kind of split the difference about half the time, but this is clearly shenanigans. You take the gold base, it's in a vulnerable position. A Stargate is going to be very difficult to deal with, unless you're... Oh, it's going to be queens. Oh. Yeah. Already with a quick... Huh. You have my curiosity, but now you have my attention. Couple of depths, looking to make life very difficult. Creep tumor has been... No, Brenda! She hasn't been the same since the war. Showtime just completes the shade. We'll kill off 2 of the drones, but get blocked in. Now get off my ring! Showtime has committed almost religiously, somewhat puns intended, with the early Protoss to that early aggression. Now 2 queens. We get a whole bunch of damage done on the Oracle. The drone count suffering dramatically. Showtime's going to take a 3rd base, but the creep is continuing to spread towards it. This has to be something. All right, there's no way Shin's going to try to play this out like a normal macro, right? The creep is very, very conspicuously making its way towards the natural of the Protoss. Shin just keeps droning, though, which... Huh. I mean... At depths, one will be taken down. Lights up both Oracles. Will take out the Zerglings, but... Huh. Bit lackadaisical on this creep spread, I will say. I'm starting to become less convinced over time. Showtime has a Spylon right there. Clearly anticipating some sort of shenanigans via the gold mineral wall. But... Oracle's coming again, driven out again. There's actually a little angle there that the Spore Crawler can't quite hit. And now the Shady Bunch. Heading in, gonna kill some more drones off. Zerglings in the main. This is still very rough. There's a lot of drones dead. Wow, 9 drones between all of it. Huh. Quite a painful exchange. As Shin loses another chunk of his economy, but he is mining the gold. All right, 7 minerals returned per trip as opposed to just 5. Hydra is done. On the way. Hydra drop? I'm still convinced it has to be so. You can't just play it out. Well, he seems confident he can. There's no Overlord speed on the way. He has a lot of money in the bank. You could build a lot of Hydras with this sort of economy. I better see something to do with that mineral. I've got myself so hyped up for no... Well, there's a discernible reason. The discernible reason is he took the gold in the center of the map, and the creep is now touching the mineral wall, just encroaching on Showtime space. It's spreading out, has almost oozed its way all the way there. All it takes is, well, you don't really want to go through a single choke point, but if he sends 4 or 5 drones, he can probably mine through the mineral wall before Showtime reacts. And there's the... Okay, now that's a bit gratuitous. Whoop. This is restricted lair space by order of the Hatchery Owners Association. My name is Lucille, all right? I make the announcements of Brenda. Why are you pretending to be Lucille? I wanted to make the announcements today. We have a schedule for these things. After all this time, this is why we can't have nice things, okay? This is, we're always competing over who's gonna inject the hatchery, who's gonna do the creep tumors, and you come over here and you're gonna usurp good usage. It makes sense because we're royalty like queens. Stop. Okay, it's Lucille's turn. Sorry. I don't think you are. You're right, I'm not. Sorry. Or am I? Backed out for... Oracle taken out. As the creep is now... Okay, this is... 9 Overlords in production. Finally! It's happening. Dropper Lords are loaded up. Shin puts all his Shin inside the Overlords. And here we go. Has some Zerglings over to the left side. Gonna try to draw it out of position. Now would be the time to do so as the army is clearly out of position here. That Showtime is very much anticipating this, but is he anticipating the magnitude of the drop? Here comes SHIN with the biggest Overlord drop, the full commitment. It's time. It's drop o'clock. Banelings at the front. SHIN bringing everything to the front. He had and is it? Are we going? Are we not going? Over to the main. Banelings with speed on the way. He pulled him out of position, and it's happening. Dropping into the main base. Hydras and Lings everywhere. Stasis catches a big chunk, but that might actually help SHIN in the long run. What else does he have in there? A few more Hydras. The Templar gets a single storm. He wasted the energy recharge, and the Hydras are starting to rip through the entire base. Banelings put into stasis, but that's a very awkward timing, and I don't think he remembers it. The Templar dropped into the main, can drop some creep as well. The Baneling's gonna come out of stasis, might be able to just break through all of this. Baneling speed is done, on the run. The probe 16 dead in the main, and even more, 25 probes slaughtered. SHIN with one of the sloppiest Overlord drops I've ever seen, manages to just, in the most hot mess Zerg sort of fashion, end up gutting the main base, killing 30 probes. Showtime, I think, with a too rigid response to that haphazard Zerg style. Somehow Showtime ends up losing most of his main base and a third of his economy to the most a strategy he knew was coming. And here comes SHIN with 190 supply to just 100. The storms, dangerous, but there's almost nothing to back up the Templar. There's no real obligation. He's gonna have to always save them with the Prism, but the Hydras are picking apart the base at the third. Ah, he lost the Prism. He lost the game. SHIN just... What a disaster piece of a game for Showtime. SHIN comes streaming over the walls, rolling through. The Banelings he predicted and put into stasis, the drop that he was prepared for, they all do damage. It all comes apart. And now we're all tied up. I truly feel like Showtime outplayed himself. SHIN gave him the shovel to dig his own grave there. Because it was so clear that he was going for the Hydraling Bane timing. But that level of commitment is still very hard to deal with. If you're a little bit out of position, you can lose. I can't talk today, which is, you know, kind of bad for my entire job, which is pretending to know what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna like and subscribe. My excuse is that I came into this series. It's not an excuse, but we'll use it as one. I came into this series expecting a very standard Protoss, like high-level standard Protoss versus Zerg, though. And instead I got a pretty hot mess, which, you know, is fun, but can catch you a little off guard if you're not ready for it. So, tell your mother to call first next time. Third base taken. Showtime going with the early probe. It is quite a split in Protoss players. Who goes for the early probe to block the base? Like, for example, Classic, arguably the best Protoss in the world right now, does not go for the probe block. And he's probably the stylistically closest player to Showtime with his shield Protoss style. It's very defensive Protoss. Showtime is going for the block, though. I do think against the vast majority of Zergs, it's worth it. You do not want to let a Zerg just go about their business. All right, lore accurately or practically. It usually does not end well for you. I did like how SHIN kind of twisted that upside down and managed to turn the game on its head with the gold base. And then the real anti-meta play was not using the gold base for anything but a little more economy early. So. I'm still disappointed we didn't get some sort of big mineral wall mining all in. But Showtime figured it out so fast. Queen. Adept. Will they, won't they? They won't. Not this time. Not until there's 2 adepts and they can commit to killing 2 drones in the main. I still... They can almost always kill drones. That's the thing. Almost every single time, you will get drone kills. But is it worth it? Like, it forces them to build enough Zerglings to defend the adepts, because you will shade through. But this time around, the Zerglings counterattack, get into the main, and have delayed the adepts by so much that... Will we still send them? Alright, we're sending it. What? Wow. What a bait and switch. So, Showtime sent out the shade. Where the Overlord could spot it, he pulled the Adepts back, canceled the shade. So, in Showtime's mind, the Adepts were sent across the map. Now, he's going to see the Adepts as he tries to take the third. But he manipulated the Overlord vision. Yeah, well, I know you can't move that fast, but... At the Overlord didn't see anything, but this did force SHIN into building Zerglings without actually having to commit the Adepts. So beautifully done by Showtime to dictate the pace of the game. All reward with almost no risk. Now he just has to defend his third base. Which, there's an Oracle overhead, so... That's a lot of Zerglings to build. Is he just gonna commit? I think so. But there's an Oracle! That's gonna be a no. Even one Oracle, let alone Moracle, is enough. SHIN now in a very awkward spot, as he committed to so many Zerglings and he just can't do anything with them. Best case scenario, he keeps the Shady Bunch here from moving out. But, yeah, that's not enough Zerglings to reliably kill the Adepts, even if the Oracles weren't already coming back up. Showtime definitely getting the better end of the start here. SHIN 50 drones up against 50 probes, and behind it we got Blinking +1 already. Showtime shading back. SHIN not biting on any more Zerglings, though. He built 6 more drones behind. Now a few roaches. But Showtime still really manipulating the drone count very well for very little risk. Whole bunch of roaches on the way now. So you have another revelation? Oh, he cancels the shade. And actually a bit risky here. The queens. Yeah, he got a little greedy with this one, but the roach is on the way. Really threw a wrench in it. And he will end up losing some of that, so enough queens to drive back the oracles. So, small misplay there. Isn't a big win for SHIN on the field, but allows him to build another round of drones and get up to that 70-something drone count that can support a lot more unit production and the ability to tech up. If you're below 70 drones, you kind of have to choose one or the other. You don't have the economy to both pump out enough units to defend and to tech up towards things like Hydras and ideally Hive and Lurkers. Yep, those are rocks. What a revelation. Well, technically, they're debris, which is exactly the same and incredibly pedantic to split the difference on. So they're rocks, is what they are. The Stalkers, though, moving forward. Hydra's in production. Infestation Pit is on the way. The one thing SHIN didn't have was the 4th base in a very timely manner. Stasis tries to trigger it with a single Ling. Will be forced back. Instead, the Blink Stalker count growing dramatically. Showtime really putting on the pressure, and SHIN underestimated the commitment. Only 4 gates, but he's just been pumping out Stalkers. We'll target down a few more. The 2 Stasis wards behind will zone things out as well. And the Stalkers are just picking apart the army right now. Some Hydras moving up. About to have Hydra range. Roach speed almost done. Stasis cuts the army in half again. The supply cloven in twain. Lights up the oracles, the overlords. No, he targets the oracles on the extractor. Oh no! What was potentially a game-ending attack goes into a little less decisive. He does kill off 15 drones, but the oracle's taken out. So it's just the Stalkers now. But that right-click on the extractor was possibly a tide-turning moment. As Showtime goes from near even supply with the very efficient Blinkstalker Oracle army to now behind on it, allowing SHIN to build up. No. Showtime actually took down the rocks at his base here. I like how he even has a zealot in this half wall area. Right? It's just reflex to build walls for the wall. Now I think anyone's game. Showtime still has a good economy, and he got Storm +2s on the way. SHIN, though, has a Hive and a Lurker Den, and enough army supply to keep the ground army at bay. 74 drones, not going too high on it. Anticipating the sort of counterattack here, and probably realizing that there's a fourth base off to the right side. Cannons being filled in. Gonna go through the debris down the center near the watchtower. And oof. Stalkers blunk in. Who's flanking who? The Templar getting left behind. Gonna get targeted down. The Hydra's waiting through the storm though. Will be absolutely melted. And behind it, there's a fleet beacon already on the way. So Showtime is not tied to this ground army in any fashion. There's already Lurker range in production, but Tempest could be added to counteract that quite quickly. No. SHIN now taking... Kills his own overlord. The amount of not so friendly fire. Wow. Or Prism off to the left side. Mothership and 2 Tempests in production. War Prism getting into the main. This is an absolutely terrible timing for SHIN. And a beautiful prediction from Showtime. He knows he needs the Prism. He needs to keep him busy until he can bring the Tempest count up. The mass Zerg army is knocking on the door because he can't go back in time to deal with this. The Tempest breaks through the door. Some Zealots to try to hold, but the Lurkers are zoning out the Templar. SHIN breaking through. War Prism may be taken down. Gets taken out by the Hydras, and it just got a lot dicier here for Showtime. Roaches and Hydras. Energy recharge on the ramp. Another storm, yes. The Tempest will hold. Takes out his own observer awkwardly. There's one more somewhere. Where is it? It's on the screen. It's with the main army, but the wall at the natural has been torn down. The main base will hold with the Tempest. He's zoning out so much, this slow-moving attack. He might be able to take out the natural. Robotics facility. That observer is very important. Wait, how does he have detection there? Guess it was just the observer. Gonna target fire. Needs to kill the Nexus. We'll get it. Meanwhile, the Lurkers will maneuver around towards the right side. Mothership is holding it together. SHIN? Well, he knocked out the Prism, which is the most important thing. If that Prism had been able to warp in another round, that would have been much less effective. Shin would have likely lost a lot of his main base, or at least some of his army at the front because he couldn't reinforce. Showtime is trying to bring things back together. He's got a glaring weakness down the center, but the main army is still a lot to deal with. And is there a Spire? Yes. And no upgrades. Lunges forward. The Templar weren't quite there to deal with it. The Lurkers are zoning out for now, but the Templar are the real danger in the long run. And the short run, just in general. So many Lurkers. 11 Lurkers, 7 Tempests. But Zerglings get into the main, into the natural. The probe's torn asunder. He does not have adrenal glands, but the Zerglings are mostly just buy time. The Lurker spread, pretty good. Tempest. Ooh. Uses a storm. He still has 3 or 4 more storms. Maybe 5, actually. Many of those Templar with 2 storms ready. He needs the Corruptors, though. There's no Vipers this time. The Shin was stuck on that kind of tier 2 tech against tier 3 from Showtime, and Showtime now has the supply lead. He's secured, re-secured the natural. Gonna slap down some cannons to hold the line. The Corruptors are revealed, but Showtime just backs off. Shin now mining from the 9 o'clock base. Very important at this stage. He needs some alternatives, and ideally a couple Vipers to complement the army. Zerglings will spot one of the Zealots. You can tell the difference between this and Game 1 with the upgrades. It's +3 attack versus +2 ranged attack. That's it. We don't have the full spread, the full buffet table of upgrades this time. Showtime finally starting to add a little more with +1 fire attack and +1 shields, but both of them on a much more stringent budget here. And Shin clearly being affected even more so by that. Ooh. The storm just cataclysmic down the center. And now a bulwark of cannons is coming together. Showtime is maxed out. He can batten down the hatches. There's not that much to deal with the Tempest directly. Stasis. But, oh wow, quite a battle group over to the left side. Tempest Time Warp, cannons in front, and a huge group of Zealots. Oh no, he's gonna lose so many drones in this. Pretty much every single drone. Meanwhile, gets on top of the army. The Corruptors try to dive on the Tempest. Storms on top of the Corruptors. Forces the split, even more storms. But not killing the Tempest very quickly. He looks like he'll eventually get them. The Lurkers actually rip through. Shin lost 34 drones back at home. I don't think it's over yet. More Hydras and Lings will be built. Gonna take out the Nexus. A devastating fight for both sides. Needs more Lurkers. More Corruptors are in production. Does he have a Greater Spire? No! I think actually a mistake out of Shin. He only has 7 Corruptors left, but without a Greater Spire, that's just so much supply. Needs to at least take out this Nexus. The reinforcements coming in. Shin down to 3 bases. Showtime still has 4. There's still some Templar with energy. The Corruptors, the Corruptors can knock out the Observers, and we could again be in that detection base trade scenario. Oh, and then the Oracle comes in and slaps down a Revelation right under the noses of the Corruptors. He can come around both sides. The Lurkers are good, but are they good enough? I fear not. Closes in. The Templar have energy. Drops a storm on the center mass. The Zealots on either side. Knocks out the Observer, but it doesn't matter in the end. As the overwhelming power of the Archons, the Immortals, and the Charge Lots, the CIA build powering through, and Showtime holds another devastating game. A brutal exchange. The game ends at 100 to 80 supply. A painfully close series for both sides. Shin winning that almost completely uncharacteristic Overlord drop fest, and Showtime holding it together. The wall holds in 2 drawn-out macro games in a row. And by in a row, I mean not in a row, instead just staggered games 1 and 3. You know what I meant. Wow, it's bad today. But it's over. And I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. Thank you for watching. I hope I made your day a little bit better. If you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon. I thank you to our Mule Tier patrons for bringing in the extra minerals. Big Jiggy, Devin, Dork, Kate, Mario, Soup. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.